Hi everybody, Geraldine Rose here with an idea for a super quick one-layer card if you need one in a hurry. The reason for this card was twofold. I wanted to share some handmade kindness, as Jennifer says, with an individual that keeps helping out our neighborhood. And it was also for the Alt New Live Challenge this week, which was One Layer Wonders. I don't tend to do those much anymore. I find they bore me. I thought, okay, well, just see if you can still do one. So I grabbed out my watercolor paper that was Canson XL. I grabbed out the watercolor paint brushes, the watercolor brush markers to start out with. I laid down a blob of water and I'm bleeding the brush markers within that. So I want them to start flowing and to start merging. I'm going to grab out my 36 pan watercolor set next because I wanted to bring in some different colors for it. You can see there I'm starting to add his little wing in on that little bird. Bringing in wet on wet so that the colors do start merging. The tail, I used a little bit of a drier brush stroke in the sense that it was going over dry paper in the back. That's why it's got a little bit more definition to it. And his beak, I'm coming in straight with the yellow because I want that to really start spreading through the blues and going down as if he's got like a highlight throat that quite a few of the birds do. So the bird on the other side, he's sort of the same colors, but he's a little bit different because we're up in a forest. We have a lot of blue jays up here. These are fun, right? It's something to bring a smile to someone's face, so they're going to be cutesy. This guy, he's a little bit bigger and he also bled a little bit more through the outside, so he ends up being a little bit fuzzy, and you'll see that a little bit later on. There's his tail going on. The feet and the legs, I came in with a drier brush stroke yet again out of the pan set. And I'm just tacking them in there, getting his little toes in. They needed eyeballs. So used the Jelly Roll Gloss Black on the one that was dry. I'm letting it dry in the meantime, bringing in the fine liners to put some shadow on his legs and the little claws so that they can perch on the branches and have something to hold on with. And then we are going to bring out, of course, ranger picket fence. And I'm putting a little bit of feather definition in there. So I'm dropping them in because it's still a little bit wet. It will spread. This is the do-it-yourself shiny spray that I made. If you want to know how to do that, I will link it there. Because the black has dried on the eyeballs, we're going to put a little highlight with the white and then bring in the fine liners again. And this is where I'm outlining them just a wee bit in certain areas. So this guy ends up looking like one of them silky chickens, you know, with the fuzzy feathers all over the place. Tearing back my tape, making certain that I do it at an angle so that it doesn't tear the watercolor paper. This is where I'm going to start my stamping. I'm positioning it to see which of those flowers I can use so that it looks like he's holding one with his beak. I brought in my fresh dye inks for that because we don't want to take a chance that we're going to smear anything because somebody didn't notice that she was dragging her sleeve through the watercolor pan set before closing the lid. Or that maybe she didn't wipe the stamp off perfectly and it's going to smear on top of our birdies. I put Post-it tape notes down. You can see I'm just pressing really hard on that one part where the flower is because that is watercolor paper. It is textured. You got to press down really hard to get it. Now I do draw in the last little part of the branch of that a little bit later with the fine liner. I didn't tape that one. I've got the flower set down into place and I thought, well, I'll work on the sentiment just to make certain that if I really mess this up, I can start over before I go too far. So I'm going to do my gradient. I'm going to do blues and purples. I'm going to put them with one across the top, one across the bottom. Same thing for the sub sentiment. This was still from the Friendship Flowers set, these ones. I grabbed out the stencils from that particular bundle. This was from the Secret Garden Retreat that they had. So you won't be able to find these at the Alt New store. I've got the two colors down for the flower there, pulling up the Post-it tapes. Then I'm grabbing out the negative stencil. I'm actually not coloring the flowers in. We're coloring around them in blues and purples on each of the corners. Then I'm blending out farther from where the stencil edges were, which is this part. That's the top corner. Yay. Okay, sits in a chair and doesn't say anything. All right, inside of the card. Again, friendship flowers for the first part of it, using my exclusive inks from Close to My Heart. And then the second sub-sentiment was from Stamp Pandas, the big words, thanks. Custom stamp on the back. Have to have that. Okay, now I'm cropping it down. I didn't realize this now. I was using the Waffle Flowers nesting rectangles, the A2 size. I used the biggest one. It worked. I have to get the ones that Christina has from Conquer Tonight with the thicker edge. I didn't see it until a little bit later. Here's where I'm just putting some water splatters on to distress some of the ink. It's this part where I'm putting the panel to the front of the card to glue it on that I realized, oh my gosh, it's actually worked a little bit, and I ended up having to crop it down to fix that, and then I shaved a wee bit off the card panel as well. In the meantime, I'm going to bring just one more little bit of splatter on it by using the ink with a little bit of water and just tapping that around the edges. Of course, a little bit of glue on the back and setting into place. We'll put the acrylic block over the top to keep it flat, wiping off a little bit of the glue that had oozed out around the edges. These quick one-layer cards are great for mailing out because you don't have to worry about the thickness, the oversized postage either. So that's the finished card. It's going out to that gentleman, as I said, that's always sharing his kindness with us to save us money, so he deserves it. You guys all go out, be that change you want to see in the world too. I want to thank everybody for subbing and liking. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.